then she would have known it was me that stole the phone. Everybody else would have found out. It would have exposed that I'm a thief, and people would have known the type of person that I actually was, rather than the person that I was pretending to be. As a child, I had middle child syndrome. So I suffer from middle child syndrome quite badly. I tried to find friends outside of my family, but there's quite a big difference in age between my older siblings. My 3 older siblings were too old to hang out with me really, and my younger siblings were too young for me to hang out with them. So what I tried doing is trying to find friends outside of my family circle. And this was kind of the road to me kind of going downwards in terms of who I wanted to be. And I guess the first experience of my personality not being where I wanted it to be was when I was about 9-10 in school. I started hanging out with some friends that I go to school with, and every day they would go to the canteen in the morning. The canteen would open up early, and they would get themselves a 40p carton of a Ribena. It was one of these hot Ribenas, and every day they'd do it. And every day I'd stand there with them without that Ribena. And on occasions they'd ask me, well, why aren't you drinking a Ribena? Don't you want one? And obviously I wanted one, but I didn't have any cash on me. So I guess at the time, if I just asked my parents for the 40p in the morning to go and get my hot Ribena, they would probably say yeah. But I didn't think to ask. I don't know why, but I didn't. And I just decided to take 40p from my dad's side table. He used to keep his money on his side table, and I just used to go in and help myself to it. And as small as it was just 40p, but stealing is stealing, and that was the kind of start of me taking without asking, because of my own selfishness and my own greed. From then it escalated. The pence turned to pounds. I started taking notes, and my dad would always, because there's so many kids in the house, it was difficult to tell who actually took it. So there'd always be a meeting, who took the pound coins, who took the £10 note or whatever it was from the side of my table. And there was enough of us for me to kind of get away with it, or think I got away with it and blame it on somebody else, or just keep quiet because nobody knew. So anyway, I think things escalated so much so that by the time I was about 15, I got into stealing a few more expensive items, and I found myself one time in a after school drama performance. And I saw it as the perfect opportunity. Myself and a friend of mine that went to the same school as me, we saw it as a perfect opportunity to go and find out where everybody's stuff was whilst they was distracted during the performance, and just rummage through it and see what we can get. And we got a bit of cash, but I also ended up stealing a phone. And by the time I had taken this phone, I had realised, but it come back to me, that basically the phone was a friend of mine. And at that time it was very hard for me to then just go and give back the phone. If I had given back the phone, then she would have known it was me that stole the phone. Everybody else would have found out. It would have exposed that I'm a thief, and people would have known the type of person that I actually was, rather than the person that I was pretending to be. And I was very concerned about that. It made me feel very embarrassed. I felt like no one was going to trust me after that. So I lied. I basically tried to deny that it was myself that stole it. I eventually got caught and had to give back the phone, apologized, but it came out that I stole the phone. So I had to basically make up another lie to justify why it was taken. And lie upon lie upon lie, they just kept on building up, and it made me realize that every time I done something wrong, or every time I stole something, I had to then do another wrong by lying to cover up what I had done. And that was, I think, my first point of reflection on myself, because it made me feel like this isn't the person that I want to be. I don't want to have to cover my tracks every minute by lying. I don't want people to think of me as one way, but I'm actually another way. And I was feeling quite dishonest with myself and dishonest with people around me. And it was all simply because of my own greed for other people's things. And I envied the fact that other people had things that I didn't have yet. And that was my first kind of reflection, to think, do you know what, I've got to change something. And from that point on, I decided that I was going to do my utmost best, and I wasn't going to steal anymore. Anything I wanted, I was going to work for it. After then, I moved into college, and I still had a lot of the friends that I had through school into college. And I was about 16. I'm starting to make new friends, but they're no different to the friends that I already had. And so there was one day after college, we all decided to catch the bus, go through the shopping centre. But then when we got to the shopping centre, they was having a discussion about going to rob Poundland, of all places, as if it wasn't cheap enough already. So they decided to go and rob Poundland. And at that moment, I remember making a clear decision that although these guys are my friends and we do everything together, this isn't something that I want to take part in. And at that moment, I made a decision to leave them. So they went one way through the shopping centre and I went another. They went and robbed Poundland, and I was on my way down to, I can't remember where it was I was on my way down to, but at the time I used to play basketball a lot. And I always carried a basketball around with me, and I was spinning the basketball on my finger every single day. And on this occasion, I've left my friends and I'm walking through the shopping centre and I'm spinning this ball. And I'm going down these escalators. And as I'm going down, a photographer happens to catch me spinning this ball, and I'm holding the ball there for ages. And then he says to me, excuse me, I'm doing a photo shoot for a store. It was for a David Beckham campaign. And he gave me his card and asked me if I'd be interested in taking part in it. And at that moment, I realised myself, and the light bulb kind of just switched. And I was like, do you know what? This is what happens when you leave bad company. Opportunities arise. And that was my first eye-opener to show me that, do you know what? The moment you start ditching the friends that aren't really doing your life any good and are only bringing you a bad lifestyle to really live, that was when opportunities started to arise for me. And then I made another decision from then that I'm going to shortlist my friends, because clearly the company that I'm keeping around with me isn't beneficial to who I want to become. So I'm stepping in the right steps of becoming closer to the man that I wanted to be at this point. And I'm making clearer decisions, and I'm making it very evident that when my friends are doing things that I don't agree with, like stealing, fraud and things like that, I'm making it very, very evident that I do not want to have any part in it. And as difficult as it is, because I can see them living quite a luxurious life. They have the latest things, but I still don't. But I've still got to work for it, and I take pride in working for the things that I have. So, and then there was a time that I was on the bus, and it was a rowdy bus. It was not too late at night, but late enough. And I get a phone call from my brother, and he's like, "Gene, what's going on behind you? It sounds very, very noisy." I said, "Oh, they're just some friends of mine." So he said, "Okay, well, put one of them on the phone to me." So at this point in time, I'm kind of thinking, well, why do you want to speak to my friends, and who am I going to put on the phone to you? And out of all of my friends, it was so difficult to pick who to actually speak to my brother, because none of them really represented what I am, or what I want my brother to think I am. In the end, I picked one of my friends. He had a conversation with my brother, and now they're quite cool friends as well themselves. But that was another defining moment that I thought to myself, do you know what? I could get caught at any moment with a certain type of crowd. And whether it be my family or friends or a stranger, the moment I'm surrounded in that crowd, I become associated with them, and therefore I am one of them. And how they are is how I am. The attributes that they are, how rowdy they are, that's what people might think of me. So again, the shortlist became even further. And I think throughout my life, I've been making decisions like this to kind of control who I am, who I want to be seen as, and make more conscious decisions to be self-controlled in creating the environment that I have around myself, and staying away from the things that I don't want to be associated with, like stealing. And then there was a story my dad once told me, and it was basically when he was working in a company selling alarm systems, and I think it was something like one of the alarm systems or something went missing and someone had stolen something. So the management brought all of the team into the room one by one, and they was asking who done it. They wanted to find out who done it in confidence, to find out if they can get this stuff back. So anyway, people went in, and one person went in and said, "Do you know what? I don't know who did it, but I know who didn't do it," and that was Clint Jordan. And that made me realize that for myself, it's not just about who I want to become and who I want people to see me as, but it's also about reflecting on who I don't want to be. And I think the moment that kind of dawned on me, I started taking stock of not just where I want to be in life, but where I don't want to be. And stealing, lying, being envious of other people's goods, however they've got it, that's not where I wanted to be. And I think the moment I started taking stock of that and measuring myself up against that, I could see clearly how far I am from where I was and how close I am to where I want to be. Now today I'm very much the person that I want to be. I've made decisions, I've made choices to be the person that I want to be, and I've worked very hard for quite a few years carving out the person that I want to be today, and I'm happy to say that I am that man today. It's been difficult, it's been hard, making some of the sacrifices and doing without sometimes, to make sure that I'm true to myself, and that I can always be happy with the fact that anything that I am today is because of hard work, or anything that I have today is because of hard work, not through being dishonest, which is something that I wanted to steer clear of. So I would advise anybody, I mean, although I'm the man I am today, there's always room for growth, but I'm definitely in the same in the vein that I want to be. So I guess my advice would be that anybody who's trying to carve their character and trying to be a certain person, think about what you want to be. It's very important to think about what you want to be and who you want to become, but it's also very important to think about who you don't want to be and who you're not. Whereas people might not be able to vouch for some of the things that I do, I'm pretty confident that people could be confident in themselves in saying what I wouldn't do. So anybody who's trying to create their own character, definitely think about who you do not want to be, because that's going to be a very good measuring stick to measure yourself on. So I've just shared some of my experiences and my struggles trying to carve out the man I am today. If you've taken something from this video and it's helped you grow, like the video. If you think that you know someone who could perhaps benefit from hearing this, then share it with them. And also, if you have your own feedback and your own comments, or even your own experiences that you want to feel free to share, do so. Someone might be able to grow from that. You never know. But for more videos on topics like this, also subscribe to the YouTube page, which is youtube.com/men-and-marriage. And until the next one, I'll catch you then. So at this point in time, I'm meant to be the rock for my family, and I feel like I'm failing drastically. I've been thrown into this environment, and I don't feel that I'm coping well, and I'm starting to think in my head that it's evident that I'm not coping